Hello, my name is Tristan Pollitt. 7 months ago, I was a typical 29-year-old. Aside from my diabetes and narcolepsy, I was working on my college degree at the University of Nebraska at Kearney online. I was 3 credit hours away from graduating summa cum laude. I owned my own business. I was working on a startup as well. Um, I was going bowling probably twice a week, lifting things all the time. I felt honestly the strongest I had in my entire life. And then tragedy struck. And I don't know what the exact inciting incident was, but I started to have dizzy spells, problems with my balance. I suddenly couldn't lift even a frying pan without feeling like I was going to pass out. My heart rate shooting above 150 beats per minute. I went to the ER several times for the heart rates and the near fainting spells. Got absolutely no help. Um, since then I've had other symptoms arise. My esophagus has closed on me now 4 times. I still cannot eat normally without cutting things into very small pieces. I have to be very careful about what I eat, or it'll get stuck in my throat. Um, and I've even been kicked out of a couple of clinics and hospitals just for trying to advocate for myself and seek answers. Unfortunately, this is all too common among young people, women, and minorities. We are the most often overlooked in the American healthcare system. If it's anything more than a common cold or one of like 10 things outside of the quote unquote normal, doctors just don't want to look into it, especially primary doctors in rural areas. I can't find a consistent primary doctor that will actually look into this for me. I've also been to probably a dozen specialists, and they can't seem to find the answers either, and many of them aren't interested in helping me search for the answers to these issues, and that's really disheartening. The state of the American healthcare system, the state of the Nebraska healthcare system is truly tragic. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to fix that on my own, especially in the condition that I'm in. But the reason I'm making this video is to point out just how broken the system is and to ask for your help. I've been trying for a few months now to get into Mayo Clinic. Unfortunately, since I'm on Medicaid and they don't accept Medicaid, I have to come up with a $5,000 deposit just to be seen there. Once I'm in, however, I should be eligible for their financial aid, which they call charitable care, which should cover the rest of my appointments after the first few. I'm hoping that this will give me answers and get me back on track with my life so that I can finish those last 3 credit hours of my college degree, so that I can go back to walking without a cane, so that I can put back on the weight that I've lost. I've lost over 20 pounds, almost 18% of my body mass. And most of that was within 3 months. A lot of that has been muscle mass as well. I've still got my gut. I didn't lose much as far as fat goes. I really just want to get answers, get a prognosis, get a diagnosis, and get a treatment plan going so I can get back on track with my life. Throughout a lot of this, I've had to do a lot of my own research and a lot of my own advocacy. Unfortunately, like I said, that advocacy has gotten me kicked out of a couple of hospitals who just don't want to look any further than a basic blood test. What I have come across that seems to most match my symptoms is craniocervical instability, which is an issue of the spine and the spinal cord. It can be very serious, can lead to permanent paralysis or death if it's overlooked. Again, I can't get anybody to take images of my spine. I can't get the flexion extension MRIs or x-rays that are needed for those types of diagnoses. I just can't get doctors to look into this really any further at all. I've been working with a neurologist and they are letting me down. I have been trying to get into rheumatology for years and they have been letting me down. And even 3 years ago, I suffered a series of mini strokes and I had something very similar happen. I got kicked out of UNMC for trying to advocate for myself and find answers as to why I was having those mini strokes. I don't know that that's connected to this at all. I do sometimes have numbness in my face, but it does not seem to be vascular. However, the heart issues are very concerning to me, but the heart doctors I see don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to look into ablations. They don't want to see if I'm in heart failure, which is very possible with the massive amount of weight loss. There was even a concerning hyper intense spot on one of my abdominal CTs for those throat strictures that showed what appears to be a large mass on my left kidney. I can't get anybody to do a second opinion follow up scan or a PET CT to see exactly what that is, if it's an artifact or if it is truly something to be worried about. Again, it's just a shame that this is the American healthcare system, and it seems to be almost easier to get a passport and fly to Canada or somewhere else to get healthcare. And if I ever do get better, I want to make sure that in addition to starting my businesses and getting out there and living my life, that I advocate for those like me, those that are undiagnosed, those that are on diagnostic odysseys, those that spend on average 8 years in over 3 dozen doctors trying to get answers, many of whom never do and end up dead, never finding those answers until the autopsy comes to the family. And I don't want that for my family. My mom and my dad are sacrificing a lot right now to make sure I'm taken care of. My mom drives 90 miles every weekend to make sure I'm taken care of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 90 miles each way, I should say. And my dad is driving between 200 and 400 miles a week to make sure that I get to doctor's appointments because I have no access to healthcare in my hometown. I've set up a GoFundMe to help raise the funds I need to get into Mayo Clinic to hopefully find answers in healing. If you're on Facebook, I've got the link shared a bunch of times on my page. If you're on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, my link is in my bio. I'd greatly appreciate any and all donations. I'd greatly appreciate getting this shared as far and wide as possible. If you can't donate, but if you can donate anything at all, even if it's $5, which I believe is GoFundMe's minimum, that's greatly appreciated. And I want to get this shared as wide and far as possible. I hope this hits media outlets or goes viral to expose the flaws in the Nebraska healthcare system, to help me get the answers I need so that I can help others get the answers they need as well. Again, it's a tragedy, the state that the Nebraska healthcare system in particular and the American healthcare system are in. It should be people before profits, but unfortunately it's not, even at so-called nonprofit hospitals. The bureaucracy wins yet again, and those of us like me with undiagnosed and severe and rapidly progressing conditions suffer, and our families suffer, and our friends suffer. And this has been a long and hard journey for me. These last 7 months, I was hoping to have answers by now. Oftentimes it just feels super lonely too. Friends and family often don't understand when they can't see exactly what's going on. They can't see that I'm bound to this couch most of the day, every day, because I physically can't get up and do anything without setting off my heart rate or my blood pressure, a dizzy spell, or severe back pain, severe neck pain, or any other such thing. That I can't eat normally. The main symptom they can see is that I'm walking with a cane, but a lot of people don't understand quite why or how serious that actually is. And also the weight loss is visible to anybody that's known me for a great period of time, but these doctors that I'm seeing for the first time ever, who don't know me, who won't check my chart to see what I previously weighed, don't want to acknowledge that. And the AMA standard to look into weight loss is 10 pounds or 10% of body weight, and I've lost over 22 pounds and over 18% of my body weight. Again, please, if you can, donate to my fund. Share this as far and wide as you can. Let's get me some answers, and let's continue to advocate for the undiagnosed, those on the diagnostic odyssey journeys, and for a better healthcare system in America and Nebraska.